Introducing the Paramena Bliss Podcast, a show dedicated to unraveling the mysteries of achieving optimal health naturally as you transition into perimenopause and menopause. Get ready to join your host, Dr. Seth Yates, an experienced naturopathic doctor, acupuncturist, and kinesiologist, as he shares his wealth of knowledge acquired from over 40,000 patient visits and 15 years in working with perimenopausal females. Welcome to the Paramena Bliss Podcast.
Hey, this is Doc Yates, and welcome to the Paramena Bliss Podcast, brought to you by ablehealth.us. And today we want to talk about your job and your health. Is your job killing you? The thing is that there's so many times when I'm speaking with people to find out the underlying issues. So let's say they have tension or digestive issues. Then we're talking about, okay, well, how much do you feel stress is playing a role in about this? And what are your big stressors? And at least 30% of the time, if not more, their biggest stress is their job. So we can give you all the supplements you want for digestion. We can work on your neck and back. But if you're dealing with that same stress, I want you to think about this. If you're putting in 8 to 10 hour days in a job that's terrible, that you hate, that's causing you stress all day, at least in your current situation in that job, how much do you think that a 30-minute treatment or a 60-minute treatment once a week or every 2 weeks is going to do to counter 40 to 60 hours a week in that environment? It's going to help a little bit, but we still, again, the goal of naturopathic is always to try and get to the root cause. And if your job is part of that, then we need to discuss that. So I want to talk about five key factors for your work that you need to be able to identify and find out, is this affecting you? So number one, high stress and toxic people. Because a lot of times the stress from people's work is not the work itself. A lot of people actually enjoy the work. Sometimes there's the extra paperwork. Nobody likes that, generally speaking. But a lot of the stress is from the toxic people that they're working with. So I always like to use the crab in the bucket analogy. If you take one crab and you drop it down into a bucket, it's going to pull itself out. They have the ability that they can climb out. So the fisherman, if he wants to take and keep that crab in a bucket, he just adds more crabs. Because once one crab starts to try and pull themselves out of the bucket to better their situation, the other crabs will pull them back down in. So they literally are like become their own jail, their own prison guards. That's what a lot of people's work situation is like. It's like not only do people not like their job, it's like they want everyone else to feel miserable too. They're all like these crabs in a bucket. So if you're in that type of situation, sometimes it's not the job itself. Sometimes you just need to find a way that you can separate yourself from those people, or maybe ask to work on a different team or something along those lines. But that is a big factor, the toxic people you're working with. Another big factor for people's work, which it's not as common now, fortunately, but there's still lots of jobs where this is the case. Not the toxic people, but the actual toxic workplace itself. And I'm talking about actual toxins at this point. Like if you have a job, and for instance, you're working with varnishes, paints, stains, chemicals, asbestos, mold all day, I would say consider looking for a different one, or at least like constantly double checking that you have the proper equipment to address that. If you're dealing with those things, equipment is everything, because I have had too many I remember I had a patient who's since passed away. He was a farmer, and he was working with all of these pesticides. And the problem was, at that point, they told him that those pesticides were, the companies that were selling them, they told him this is just as the same as water. Like, it's no different. It's not bad for you in any way. And he would literally be like, working on it, say, I dropped my wrench in this barrel. I'll just reach down and get it. Like, he'd be sometimes covered in this stuff. And he died before he was 50 from liver cancer. So if you're constantly exposed to toxic things, you need to counter that. 1, with equipment. 2, maybe using a different job. 3, constant detoxification. Another example would be firefighters. Firefighters have a much higher risk of all the toxic chemicals that they're exposed to. In my opinion, firefighters should be given things as part of their work to improve their detoxification, and it should be covered with their plan. That should just be automatically covered because that job poses the increased risk. Okay, number 3. Is your job either A, too stationary, or B, constant repetitive movements? Either of these can cause issues. So if you're just in a desk all day long and just sitting there staring at a screen, that can be a problem. You want to look for solutions for that. One, if you have the option for those sit down, stand up desks, remember if this is a job that you have to do for 20, 30, 40 years, you've got to think about that from a long-term perspective. Is your desk set up so you're at a nice, comfortable angle for your neck, for your shoulders, and for your wrist, so you're not getting neck issues, carpal tunnel, and shoulder issues, which I treat every week from that. And then, can you do the sit-up, stand-up? If not, can you set an alarm on your phone that goes off after every 20 minutes so you can get up, walk around, and take a stretch? The other thing that you want to consider is that, as we've discussed in other podcasts, exercise is crucial. You should try and work with someone, or we'll probably build this into Able Health for you as well. If you've got a specific job that's in a specific position all the time, then you want your exercise routine to incorporate the fact that you're in that position so that you can counter that. For instance, let's say you're just in a desk job. If you're in a desk job all the time, you need to be doing exercises that's going to strengthen between your shoulder blades. You need to be doing exercises that's going to strengthen your glutes, basically your butt muscle. And you need to be doing stretching exercises that's going to stretch out your hip flexors and your chest, because those are in a shortened position all day, and then those other muscles are in a weakened position all day, and you're just sitting on your butt. So that has to be part of it. So you'd want to build that in. Point number 4, do you feel that you have fulfilled with your job or purpose? Let's say, and they talked about this, let's say you had a job and you were filling out a spreadsheet all day. And it was boring, but you felt the purpose with it. And then you did that for a year. And then at the end of the year, you went and talked to your boss and you're like, okay, well, how did I do? I've got all these spreadsheets filled out. He's like, oh, we were just deleting those all the time. And then you realize that everything you did was just a waste of time. Do you feel that in your job you feel purpose and fulfilled? And that totally varies for different people. Different people need different things. Some people feel the most fulfilled with working with data and information. Some people feel the most fulfilled in working and talking with people and solving problems. So it all depends on your role. And if you're not in a role that you feel fulfilled, you should if you have the ability to talk to your employer about that, because a good employer will realize that if they put you in a position where you feel more fulfilled, you're going to be so much better at it and so much more productive anyways. So it is a win-win, and that would be the exact way you'd want to approach that. Everything can be a win-win when you're in a job that you like. Number 5, does your job give you room for growth? So is there room to move up with, if there's no incentive to improve yourself or to work harder if you're just stuck in the same spot all the time. So does it give you room for growth, the ability to get better pay or more, not even necessarily more, sometimes more responsibilities, basically to just move up with the company? Or if that's not the case, and this is where the mindset aspect of it comes in, because the other thing is, are you someone who can separate your job and your life so that you can be content to do your job and you have that? This would be the nice thing. You want to ideally have both. You have a job that fulfills all of these things, but yet you have the mindset of you're really not living to work, you're working to live. So that way, if you're not being fulfilled in your work, can you use your work to fulfill things that you really care about? For instance, say you wanted to be a startup business and you don't have the funds to get started. Can you use your current job to help give you the income you need to start something that you actually are really passionate about? Or can you use your current job to help teach you skills that improves, like let's say you were really passionate about art or music. Are you learning things from your job that can help along with those lines? And sometimes that help is not even direct. Like maybe you're in marketing and you love music. Can you use your job to help improve marketing of your music or something else that you're actually really passionate about? So you want to look for the connections between something that you love doing and sometimes something that you have to do, because if you can connect those two together, you're going to have a much better relationship and experience with both. So the other thing too, do you have, I would say this, if there's things that on this list, you're like, this is a problem, man, he's identifying all these problems, and try and go have a very open conversation with your employer about some of these problems. Because I would say, as an employer, I'm very happy to try and make as many changes as I can to improve the day-to-day of my employees, because I know the better their days are, the better work they're going to do. But the thing is, if sometimes as the employer, you are also extremely busy and you just kind of get caught up in your own work. So sometimes if these things haven't been addressed, I don't want you to assume it's because your employer is trying to keep his thumb on you and keep you down and, screw the man. But just have that conversation. Sometimes he might not even realize that you're having these issues, and if you are having them, I bet a lot of them would be happy to help you and address those. Or I hope they would. So this is Doc Yates signing off. I hope that you got some helpful for this. This was helpful. I wish I could speak today. It's too early in the morning. I hope that was helpful. Take care. I'm signing off. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Paramena Bliss podcast. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and visit paramenobliss.com for more valuable information on how you can thrive during your transition through perimenopause. Join our community of like-minded women who are dedicated to achieving optimal health naturally, and stay up to date with the latest tips, tricks, and advice from Dr. Seth Yates. And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Paramena Bliss podcast.